Hey Threadheads, welcome back. My name is Ashley and I have some more interesting stories for us today. But before that, I'd like to know, how are you doing today? It's a sunny day in the UK and I should be outside, but I just have some juicy stories to share with you guys and I could not wait. For today's video, we are diving deep into some wedding stories, some fiancé drama, and wedding guests who are just pains in the neck. As usual, if you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like. If you'd like to see some more of my content, please feel free to subscribe. And also hit that notification bell so you always get notified of when I post. Now, before we begin, I want to say a huge thank you for coming back. It means the world to me that you're back, but it also means one of two things. 1, you make bad choices, or 2, my voice isn't as bad as I thought it was. I'm hoping it's the latter. Now, without further ado, let's jump into some stories. Ashley read it, and now, so will you. Jumping straight into the r/AITAH subreddit, we have a post by Throwaway09ACC. They ask, am I the a-hole for making my husband's groomswoman wear a wig or be disinvited from our wedding? My boyfriend, now fiancé, asked me to marry him 2 months ago. To give a little background, I met him at a farmer's market when I was 18 and he was 26. We are now 24 female and 32 male. We've been together for a little bit over 5 years and I'm very happy with him. Now, to the story. My fiancé's friend, Brittany, has been friends with him since they were in elementary school. Throughout our early dating days, I expressed that I was not a fan of this woman. There are many reasons as to why, such as us not having common interests and absolutely polar opposite moral codes. But the main one was her interest in embarrassing me and my fiancé, possibly because she likes him. When we were first starting to go on dates, she had shown up and tried to invite herself to the date because he had told their mutual friend group chat where he was taking me.
Huh?
She then decided she would go to the same restaurant and had tried to make a scene about him cheating on her and that she was heartbroken. It escalated very quickly and it ended with me asking the manager to get her trespassed as she was delusional and I, nor my date, did not want her around. This sort of situation happened 3 more times, even going as far as showing up to his grandparents' house to stop me from meeting his family. At that point, I made it very clear to him that if anything like that were to happen again, I'd be out of there, which he completely understood and agreed with me wholeheartedly. He convinced his friend group to go low communication about Brittany with him because she was acting weird around him and they all understood and disagreed with her actions. He had extremely low contact after that point, and I learned years later that she had gotten major therapy, even checked herself into a mental hospital, and went on medication to stop these absolutely unhinged personality traits. Around 4 years later, they reconnected through a mutual friend's birthday party we were all at, and she genuinely seemed like she had changed personality-wise from the person I met 5-ish years ago. We still didn't agree on most things, but she apologized for the way she had acted previously and owned up to all the BS she tried to pull with him. So I just kept my guard up but encouraged my fiancé to make friends with her again. I'm not friends with her, but I'm friendly towards her. Skipping to now, I have been planning this wedding basically since I was born. Over-exaggerating, but it has been in my thoughts since I was a young child. The wedding will not happen for another 2 years. The theme is supposed to be similar to D&D style fantasy, a Renaissance wedding with blue, orange and red as the basic color scheme. Most of the wedding would be held outside at a local state park, but part of it will be held inside. Specifically, the cake and food would be cut and served inside, as well as some of the guests' photos. This is the important part. I have a personal friend, Bree, 28 female, who does professional pictures at Renaissance festivals across the US. Her job is to drive around the country to Ren fairs and take pictures for certain venues. It's a very cool job and I love seeing the pictures. However, she does editing for some of the venues with a green screen to make it look more aesthetic or to totally change the scenery behind the people in the photo. For example, she showed me mock-ups for me in the past, showing silly people in costumes being chased by goblins and trolls, a dragon breathing fire behind a party of knights, and even a garden of lights with fairies flying through it, etc. It's silly stuff and it's for people to have fun with. My idea was to incorporate this into my wedding. The guests would choose whatever background they liked from a catalogue that my friend and I put together, and Bree or her teammate would take pictures of them throughout the day. These pictures would be uploaded electronically and then be edited by her after the wedding. These were mandatory for all the guests that wanted to participate, so I could use the pictures for postcards and scrapbooking. It's my hobby. The people who wanted to take part in this activity would have to check a box in the save the date form I sent out. My assumption is that most guests would be doing this, as most of the people that will be invited are extremely rambunctious and love activities involving being silly. I do want to make it clear, these would not be the only pictures taken at the wedding. There still would be normal pictures being taken of the wedding itself, as well as photos that will likely be framed and used as decoration that would have no green screen of my husband and I and the wedding party. A few days after he proposed, my fiancé asked me if I'd feel comfortable with him inviting Brittany to the wedding as a groomswoman. Honestly, I was fine with it, until the topic of her hair came up. In the year or so that he reconnected, she cut and dyed her hair a lime green with a cool undertone and highlights. I honestly really like it and it suits her facial structure extremely well. However, I was worried about the green screen and her hair, so I invited her to my friend's house a little while later so we could see if the screen would blend with her hair. Unfortunately, it did. In the pictures, you could see a major glitch with every background we tried because of her hair. I asked my friend if there was a way to edit around this, and she said there was, but it would be an extra amount of money because it would be way more time to go through and possibly edit multiple photos of her with groups of people and herself so the picture wouldn't glitch. I'm very against this as our budget has to be semi-perfect. We are accounting for accidents and issues, but not extra money to my friend's business because of one woman's choice of dye blending very well with the green screen. While I do love her hair, I asked if she'd wear a wig to the wedding so she could still be included in the green screen pictures. I even offered to get it professionally done and I'd pay for that. This is when she became very angry with me. To sum up what she said, her being asked to wear a wig was basically me saying I wanted her to cover herself, that her hair was an expression of herself and that she loved it. I told her that I loved it as well, but in order for her to be included, she would need to wear a wig, as the green in her hair cannot just be covered up via a hat or other headwear. She has been saying that I just don't want to include her in the wedding. As a compromise against the wig, I proposed that she gets more pictures of her having fun taken at the wedding itself instead of the green screen. She didn't like this idea because she claims it isn't fair all the other guests get to be put in a fun picture and she's the only one not allowed. Though I sort of agree with her, it isn't to the fault of my own. So I offered that she pay the extra editing costs it would take and edit more of her pictures. At first, she was fine with the idea until I mentioned that the extra editing would cost around $100 for just a singular picture to be taken and then edited by my friend, and the final price depended on how many photos she ended up in on the green screen. Then she declined the offer and tried to throw it in my face that Bree's prices were outrageous. I disagreed with her sentiment about the prices, and I haven't spoken to her since then. Throughout this whole ordeal, my fiancé has been on my side, but he has been upset over her possibly not being there. While he does agree with me about not wanting to pay more for just her, as well as that she's being overdramatic, he has sympathy for her being the only person being left out of the choice activity. While I also have sympathy, I just don't see an alternative here. We can't use a blue screen over a green screen because the colors of the wedding are blue, red, and orange. And I don't wish to pay for a new screen for my friend's business just because of one person. And the alternative I've come up with, she has shut down. So my final decision was to ask him to disinvite her from the wedding to not create further drama if she does not want to wear a wig. After long talks between us, he agreed with me and sent her a message that she would be disinvited entirely and would be welcome to celebrate with just us after our honeymoon ended. They met up soon afterwards and he stayed firm on the matter despite her crying and still refusing to do anything to correct her hair. She still believes that me asking her to do this is because of some power imbalance and that I just want to bully her, which I don't think I'm doing. She has a year to think this over. I can tell the situation bothers him though, and I've addressed it a few times. times. All of the times I have, he says it's for the best, as she would just ruin the photos she was in with a green screen and cost us to delete hundreds of pictures purely based on her actions. I agree, but it still bothers me that I'm doing something wrong, especially since after this incident, her mom and dad have reached out to me to scold me for abusing my power against their daughter on one of the biggest parties she's ever been invited to. Even my friends are split on this issue, all of them having sympathy for her, but some of them saying I'm an a-hole because I won't just let her come to the wedding and have someone block her from taking pictures with a green screen. And just to make sure the record is straight, I am not trying to force her to change her hair in any way. I do not want her to dye it differently, nor would I expect her to. I purely just want a non-green wig to be put on her head for the wedding, and then she can remove it afterwards. I would normally say that she could remove it after the green screen portion, but I'm still working out if I'm going to let it stay up for the entire day of the wedding, or if I'm going to hold other activities for everyone and have Brie close the photo stuff down. Again, the wedding isn't for 2 years, so I'm able to think it over for at least a year. I don't know. Am I the a-hole? TLDR, my husband's groomswoman won't wear a wig for my wedding due to her believing it's her sense of pride. While I do like her hair, she could potentially ruin pictures of a green screen photo op activity I will be having at my wedding, costing us more than $1,000 for pictures I cannot use, and even more money if I got her photoshopped out or blended in with the background. All other alternatives given to her have been denied. This has caused my husband to give her an ultimatum where he outlines that she will be uninvited if she doesn't agree to the terms within a year. Am I the a-hole for this? For my opinion, first of all, I think OP is jumping the gun. You have 2 years to plan this wedding, and for all we know, Britney's hair might not be that color in 2 years. Also, it might be because given Britney's track record, it's possible she'll just leave it that lime green color just to piss OP off. But assuming the wedding is right away, I would say OP is not the a-hole, just because they've given Britney some alternatives. They've offered to have her wear a wig and still take part. They've offered to have her be part of other activities, and they've offered to have Britney cover the cost. But Britney doesn't want to. Britney somehow expects them to pay for her choice of hair color. But I don't see why OP has to be out of pocket $1,000 just because someone wants to have lime green hair. Personally, OP has clarified in their post that they have no issues with Britney's hair color. It's simply that the color blends in with the background. OP may ask Britney, instead of paying for all the cost of the pictures, would she be happy to buy a new screen for Brie to take pictures of the wedding? If not, I don't see what else OP can do. I will say kudos to OP's fiancé for standing by her. Obviously this is heartbreaking for him, but Britney isn't being reasonable, and it's worse that she's having her parents now attack and ambush OP and saying that she's bullying her. I'm sorry, but it doesn't seem like bullying. Bullying is a strong word to use in this situation. They're grown adults, and to say this is the biggest wedding she's been invited to, one would think if she really wanted to be there, she'd be trying to give OP choices. She could provide OP with options of what she can do to compromise. Instead, she's just dug her heel and wants OP to be the one to budge for her on her own wedding day. So to me, OP is not the a-hole, but again, it's early days. Things could change in 2 years. For all you know, your fiance might not be friends with her again in 2 years. I think it's also sad to see that OP is having to focus on this issue instead of being so excited and focusing on planning for the main wedding itself. It's annoying that people are even getting involved, but that is Britney's doing. It's quite tactical to me that she's found an issue and she wants everyone to be on her side and have this pity party and make OP look like the bad guy. In the comments, Judging A-hole says, I'm not sure why this is an issue right this second. You said the wedding isn't until 2 years. It's very likely that she would have changed her hair within that time anyway. Right now you've made a big deal of it, so she isn't going to change it now. But it's very likely if you would have just not said anything, the hair would have been changed before the wedding. OP then adds a comment to this in response and says, I totally forgot to add this in the post, but she isn't planning going to change it anytime soon. Her hair will remain green for the next 2 years, as she's already had touch-up appointments booked and paid for because of the nature of the bright dye like that fading too quickly. That's the main reason it's an issue now. She's made it clear to my fiancé that she doesn't want to change her hair to something more boring, even though I never said she had to change it to something boring. She could wear a hot pink spiked wig with a pirate hat and I'd be thrilled to include her in the green screen activity. Baru says, not the a-hole. It's your wedding, not a conversation with her. You are not abusing your power. It's your wedding. She doesn't have a say in the game, and what she would prefer doesn't matter. You're fully within your right to have said, because of what you did in the past, you're no longer welcome in our lives. Moving past that is a gift on your part, not an obligation you have to meet. You've offered ample alternatives. She can wear a wig, or not be in green screen photos, or pay to fix the green screen photos she's messed up. She is a guest at your wedding. It isn't her birthday party. You've been far more patient and given far more consideration than you need to, and far more than I ever would. Or just enjoy every other part of the wedding and festivities other than appearing in the green screen photos. Her expectations to be catered to at your wedding, not her wedding, in this way is ridiculous. It's 2 years away. She can choose to have her hair dyed differently leading up to the wedding and switch back, or pick a wig that displays her personality but doesn't interfere. This isn't that far removed from her throwing a tantrum because you ordered a chocolate cake when her preference is vanilla. For some reason, I love this next name. Throw my fart away says, not the a-hole. What a drama queen. I guess therapy needs to continue for some time. Jeez. Does she really want to look like a brainless face in the picture? Because she sure is acting like one. Is she willing to wear a matching scarf? It's time to pull the stage out from under her. For all the people giving you grief, delegate this to them and tell them to find a solution if they feel that way. It seems like you are trying way too hard to find a compromise and she shoots down every attempt. It's all on her at this point. Good luck, OP. OP does come in with an update that was posted 9 months ago. They say, I honestly didn't think I'd post an update at all this year because I mostly got the confirmation I needed to know I was mostly correct in my assumption that she'd cause more drama at the wedding than necessary, and that I'd be correct in that I would be okay to disinvite her. I was trying to be detailed in my last post, but in this one I'm going to be a little less detailed. Basically, 3 days ago I was sent my post on Messenger from Brittany. She is a notorious Reddit lurker apparently, and saw it a few hours after it was posted. It didn't even have to get multiple upvotes because she just reads the ones available in the recent category. I told her I posted because I had a lot of inner conflict towards my involvement with my fiancé choosing to disinvite her if she can't just make some form of sacrifice to not be in the green screen or wear a wig so she can be included. She got extremely mad at me, called me names, threatened that I'd be sued for defamation, etc. This honestly just made me realize how little she actually changed. Of course, I showed my fiancé and he was appalled at her actions. He said he was going to block her and did so that day, and so did I. Yesterday, I woke up to 43 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. That ended up being her and a dozen voicemails claiming I was stealing my fiancé away from her again, that I had purposefully targeted her for just wanting to be included with everyone else, and so on. I do not know how she got my number, but I obviously blocked it. After that, I reported her to the police on the non-emergency line because I didn't know if I would be needing to fear for my safety. I'm really glad I did this. After my fiancé left for work, she showed up to our home and knocked on the door. I cracked the window near the door and asked what she wanted. She said whilst crying that I needed to let her in the house because it was her right to be with my fiancé, not me.
What?
She started kicking at the door and I told her to knock it off. Immediately, I started dialing the non-emergency police number for my nearest precinct because I already knew what was happening in that moment, and I was supposed to be clocking in for work on my computer at that moment. I texted my boss and she excused my absence for the day as well. As I was doing this, I kept repeating, "Go away, I called the police, I do not want you here, you are trespassing." She was saying all kinds of things that I do not wish to repeat here, but the lesser of the things she was saying involved 1. Calling me a white racist pig. She's mixed race and so am I. 2. Saying she was 8 months pregnant with my fiance's baby. There's quite literally zero proof of this, including no baby bump, despite being a fairly thin woman. 3. Screaming that she would take me to hell. 4. Trying to break my metal outside door, but instead hurting herself and so on. Basically, she had a full-on meltdown. The police came, saw that she was trying to break my door down, and immediately put her in cuffs and sat her down. She was claiming that this was her house and that she lived there for 10 years and that I'd broken in and locked her out, etc. Of course, because of her psychotic appearance, I was questioned and once given the real story, as well as being able to provide proof that I was the owner of the home. She was taken to the police station. As far as I'm aware, she was booked for the night and was let go today. I did agree to a temporary no contact order, and my fiancé and I are going to proceed with a permanent one. Her parents called after they heard she was put in a holding cell and apologized profusely. Apparently, Brittany had lied to them about the extent of her actions and downplayed a lot of it. On the exterior, she seemed fine and well-rounded, but mentally, she had snapped again from not taking her meds for a year. She never told her parents this, just acted normally until one of her triggers came back, my fiancé. No, he didn't do anything wrong. She just hadn't made a trigger when it came to him because of a deeply obsessive personality disorder. I wasn't trying to air her dirty laundry about her medical history in the last post, but she was diagnosed with BPD and a large handful of disorders caused by trauma she had endured in her childhood from her great-grandfather. She's an unhealthy person, and I regret even allowing her to have the notion that we had forgiven her from the past. I'm pretty shaking from this ordeal, and I can't believe this was all because of a goddamn green screen and some pictures that were supposed to be treated as silly holiday cards for my foreseeable future. This is making me rethink the idea altogether, to be completely honest. Maybe I'll just rent a bouncy house, because that seems more fun than green screen professional photography. Anyways, that's the update. Thanks for reading and the advice I was giving in the last post. Well, this all took a turn, didn't it? Anyway, my opinion still stands on this post. Brittany is a lovely individual, to say it nicely, but I'd love to know your thoughts on this. What do you guys think of Brittany, and also what do you think of OP? Feel free to put your comments and your thoughts in the comment box down below. In the meantime, I'm going to sip from my tea, which, by the way, is a huge jug of tea by my side, and then we'll move to the next story. Up next, coming from the r/marriage subreddit, we have Wild Lavishness 4044, who asked, Fiancé, male 30, called off our wedding a week before and left me, female 30, in complete confusion. Disclaimer, I know that's not a question, but they've put a question mark at the end of it, so we are taking it as a question. Throwaway account because my ex-fiancé uses the app. So, my ex-fiancé, male 30, has cancelled our wedding, female 30, a week before it taking place. We've been together for about 6 years and lived together. For context, what happened basically was an argument that escalated. We were heading to my program graduation. It's a smaller event of about 10 students and some professors from a community college. On that morning, as we were getting ready, I asked if he'd be okay to wear one of his button-ups instead of the shirt he had on so we can get a nice photo. He was annoyed and snapped, saying, "Why do I always have to do things for others?" And I told him he truly doesn't have to. I was just asking, but it's ultimately his choice. He ended up putting the button up and we arrived at the ceremony. Everything went fine and he was very happy for me. However, on the way home in the car, traffic was filling up and he was annoyed. I offered an alternative route that I know cut some time and the exit to that route was coming up. He didn't take it and I was slightly annoyed about it because he was cranky with me about traffic. So, I asked him why he didn't take it. He started full on yelling that my tone is rude and that he doesn't have to drive the way I tell him to. I replied saying that I literally just asked and I don't care what route he takes. He was the one having a problem with traffic. He blew up and blamed me for getting him upset. When we got home, I apologized and explained that I didn't mean to come across as mean. I also said that screaming doesn't help in any situation and that we should talk instead. He basically explained that an apology doesn't solve anything and that he needs such things to not happen, otherwise he would continue exploding at me because that's the only time I listened to him. After a few hours, we spoke again. He apologized for yelling and I apologized for the miscommunication that happened. Despite resolving this, later that night, I was crying due to the fact that he so easily yells at me when he's upset. I was so upset that even on such an important day for me, I felt like he picked fights. And to add to this, yelling is such a red flag for me, and I never do that to him, or anyone for that matter. The next morning, we were having breakfast, and he asked why I seemed so gloomy, so I told him that everything's okay, I'm just processing what happened yesterday. He asked me to please share with him, so I told him that I felt like my special day was kind of ruined by fighting about things we could easily have resolved. off. He immediately just flipped and started getting angry again. He blamed me for the fights, and when I replied I don't think it's fair to blame me, he got angrier and said that he can't do this, that I'm not a good communicator, and that he cannot get married like this. I was full on shocked. I thought he was talking out of emotion, like many times before, but this time he actually ended up sending a mass text to some of the guests to let them know that the wedding was called off. I was flabbergasted at the quickness and so confused. We started arguing and then had to leave for our days. Later that day, when we returned, I asked if this is truly something he wants, to call everything off, and he responds with a confident yes. What I thought was an action out of anger seems to be solid for him. For the rest of the night and the next day, I tried to fix things between us. After many hours of talking and lots of crying on my end, he kept explaining that I don't communicate well and that this cancellation is my fault. I tried to offer some solutions, but he was full on with the decision to cancel and break up. I asked if we could give it another day or two to ensure that this is what he wants before we cancel the venue. He declined and asked to cancel the venue and the vendors immediately. So we did. The next day, I went on errands and then met with my friend. It was truly such a hard day and I was heartbroken, still digesting this is happening. When I came home, he asked to talk and started crying that he regrets everything he said in the last days, that he didn't mean it, he was angry and didn't think straight. He said he would start therapy and wanted to do couples counseling now too, after I offered it many times. Anyway, he apologized profusely and kept asking if we can mend everything or whether he effed up. I was almost sure this regret would come, and honestly, maybe it was mean, but I said, yeah, you effed up big time. You made a rash decision that hurt our relationship big time. There's no going back from here. He pretty much begged for another chance, but everything is cancelled and my trust is shattered. Now the wedding's supposed to be in 2 days. He's also supposed to be on the way to our house to help us pack decorations, and now there's no way we can schedule everything again, and frankly, I don't want to at this point. This is not the first he cancels plans or breaks up with me during a disagreement. Everyone is telling us that this is fixable, that we clearly love each other, so if we want, the situation doesn't have to be the end of the relationship. But I don't understand how. So much time, effort, and money has gone into this wedding that's done now, and plus, more importantly, I can't trust him anymore. I don't know what to do at this point. We were supposed to go on a honeymoon right after, so now I'm thinking of going by myself. He asked if we can go together and spend time to fix things, but I'm just questioning everything. I think I prefer going by myself to do some soul searching. Should I call it quits and move on with my life, or take his word and start couples counseling? I love him with my entire heart, and we have had many loving experiences between us over the years. We don't have any issues aside from such incidents, but I don't know whether it's actually possible to come back from this one. Thoughts? Advice? TLDR, my fiancé cancelled our wedding after a fight, then regretted it and begged to reconcile, but I'm heartbroken and unsure if I can trust him. Here is my opinion. I don't usually tell people to break up or get a divorce as quickly as Reddit does, but to me this is a huge glaring red flag. OP's fiancé is emotionally manipulative. This tactic of punishing them by breaking up or making rash decisions and then running back to OP to say, I'm sorry, I was angry, please forgive me, take me back, is such a pattern that will eventually break OP down. How can you trust him to not walk away when you have kids? How can you trust him to be there for you when you need him to? How can you trust him with major life decisions if little decisions like a button up can cause him to completely break down years of a relationship? I think OP's fiancé, or I hope ex-fiancé, is a very immature person. I think they are so used to having it go their way, and when things don't go their way, they're so quick to then throw a tantrum. How are you so sure that if you do agree to get back with them, they won't just in the future break up with you when, again, you argue over something so small and trivial? I can bet $1 million that he will do it again. This isn't just a one-time thing. OP says it's a pattern. People like him will get 10 times worse when they feel the relationship is on lockdown. Already he's showing you such aggressive behavior, and he justifies his actions by simply saying, you made me do it. So what happens if in the future he throws a punch at you? Will he say, you made me punch you? You made me abuse you. You made me cheat on you. Will it always be something to involve a lack of accountability? Additionally, this excuse of now wanting to go to couples counseling, something that OP apparently has mentioned in the past, but now he wants to go because he's messed up. He doesn't have any sense of accountability. He hasn't said, I messed up, I'm going to therapy for this, I'm sorry, I retract saying that I blame you for this. This is a me problem. And honestly, the people around OP who were telling telling her that this is an okay thing to move on with. It's quite disturbing. How do you encourage your friend or your family member to go ahead with a relationship with someone who has the potential tendencies to be a, dare I say, abuser? I would simply advise OP to not go ahead with the wedding. This is a good indication of how your life will be for a long time. You will be made to question every choice you make, and every time he pushes a limit and you let him push that limit, he will get braver and bolder to try a new method. I say OP needs to cut their loss and just count this as a life lesson, but simply cancel the wedding. Virtual Choir Boy says, do me a favor, go look up sunk cost fallacy. When you're done, come back and ask this question. Is the person he is now the person I want to spend the rest of my life with? He's shown you who he is deep down. Sure, maybe someday he might finally grow up enough to be better, but by the age of 30, he should already be there. So I seriously doubt he will ever truly change. This is who he is. Are you going to believe him? I agree. OP just needs to cut their losses and just chuck this down to experience. I say don't waste any more time on this relationship than you already have. Rosefly says, do not go back. Do not go on holiday together. Absolutely awful idea. You can be happy, very happy. I got divorced at 30. I thought it was all over. Sunk cost fallacy, etc. I met my now husband a year later, currently pregnant with our first baby, and moving into a new home together in a couple of weeks. I turned 36 in October. My first husband had, at the time, undiagnosed autism, along with a host of other mental illnesses, was addicted to drugs, and was emotionally abusive. My current husband is sweet, gentle, calm, kind, and loving. I would never have found him if I hadn't left when I did. Marriage with my first husband broke down within 6 months. After 4 years together, I actually walked out on our 4-year anniversary. I only wish I had gotten out before the wedding, which I was the only one to suffer for financially. We also lived together and had animals together. You have that chance. This man is toxic and needs to heal himself and work on his issues away from you. Please get out and do not go back. Go find your actual happiness, and then you realize how lucky you are to have this chance to escape. I think it's really helpful to have a comment from someone who's experienced something like what OP's experienced. It shows you that you can come out of this and be stronger. You can come out of this and have a happier ending, and you can come out of this and find better love. And clearly OP's partner or OP's fiancé is just not loving them enough, because you can't say you love someone and constantly break their spirit. I'm happy to have this comment from someone who's gone through that experience and is showing OP that there is life on the other side of this. I do have to include a trigger warning for deceased parent for the next comment, but Nanandia says, OMG, my father did the same things to my mother, but it was mostly when we would travel somewhere. What a nightmare. It was scream after scream over the most simple things, totally random fights for pretty much nothing. The traffic thing was standard. At some point, my sister, my mom, and I had no desires at all to make trips with him, and at some point, we stopped doing it. My mother died 4 years ago, and I only have good memories from one trip that we made together after I became an adult, and it was actually an extension of a work trip. I have a well-paying job, but never made a trip for fun or on vacation. It's odd. It feels like I'm not supposed to be doing it, like it's wrong. I make trips to help people or take care of someone who needs it, but never did it for myself, to have fun or to rest. If no one needs me, I spend my PTOs at home. And OP, before someone asks, I've been in therapy for the last 10 years, not just because of this, of course, but my point is to warn you that abuse and violence, even if only verbal, cause scars, and the fact that the abuser loves you doesn't make it go away. Your ex is saying everything you want to hear. You put your foot down, and now magically, in a couple of days, he's realizing everything you asked him for years. 6 years of conversations couldn't change him, but now he's suddenly this very mature person who knows why he was wrong, what drove him to make those mistakes, and how he needs the same therapy he refused for years. Do you really think the person who was a few days ago yelling and calling people to cancel a wedding out of nowhere could become this loving, mature, and apologetic dude in less than a week? Think about this, and keep in mind that your choice is something that you and your kids will have to deal with for the majority of your lives. When picking a partner, you have to realize you're not picking a partner just for yourself, but you're picking a partner for your offsprings and your children. You have to ask yourself, even if you're willing to put up with XYZ from someone, are you willing to subject your future children to that same treatment? Because behaviors like this don't just affect the partners, they scar and traumatize the children. You get reactions like, you hate loud noise because you're so used to watching your parents argue. You can't take holidays because somehow you feel holidays are this horrible horrible affair or event that you don't want to be a part of. Or I've seen stories of people who, when one parent is coming home from going out, once they're in the driveway, they go back into their rooms. So you ask yourself, am I okay to subject my children to this behavior, to this abuse? Morbid Nerd says, OP, how many happy days has he ruined for you? How many days like your graduation where you should be over the moon has he started a fight over nothing and made what should have been a magical day into tears? Because that's a massive red flag. And OP responds, too many, unfortunately. I think the timing of the arguments is also very important. There are people who just can't let their partner shine. They can't be happy when they see their partner being the center of attention. I just don't see any excuses for his behavior. People who have really bad days and then take it out on the partner or excuse their hurtful actions as, this is who I am, or you made me do it, or if only you didn't do XYZ, I wouldn't do this. There's no excuse. Aggression is aggression, and abuse, even verbal, even emotional, is abuse. And also when people think of abuse, they often think of physical abuse, but there's so many types of abuse. There's the emotional, there's the financial, there's even coercive control, there's gaslighting. I'm going to add an extra comment from Holiday End 3628 who says, that fight was so staged, almost to the minute. He was angry, then sorry, then angry, then sorry. It was so deliberate, almost a recipe. He wants to remain in the relationship with you, but he doesn't want to marry you, 100%. All the fights were very, very artificial. Read your post again, how timely and staged it was. He was angry until he cancelled. When you completely agreed with the cancellation, he was completely sorry. Wow, he deserves an Oscar. He asks a question and then blames you for everything. Then you are not the communicator. Then you start begging. He doubles down, then cancels. Then it's over. Then he's remorseful. He probably has steps written somewhere. So OP does post an update. They say, thanks to everyone for the comments and support. Since all this happened, he apologized profusely and offered to return to venue and still go and get married on the same day. He also offered couples counseling starting now and right after we get married, if I still want to. Additionally, he offered to go on the trip together to fix things. I declined to everything since the damage has been done and I decided to go on the honeymoon by myself while he packs all his items. He's going to start his therapy journey while we're broken up. I don't know what's next, but this hurts so much because we still love each other. He's going to work on his mental health to address the impulsive actions when he's upset. He's also realized it wasn't a communication issue, but rather how he felt attacked due to his own confidence. I appreciate his honesty, but can't see how it's possible to forgive what happened. Torn between trying couples counseling since he seems genuine to completely separating. I'm just gonna say, OP, I think this is one of those situations where you just have to say, I love you, but I love myself more. Please tell me you don't get back together with him. Please don't do that. OP does post a second update. For everyone who attempted to talk some sense into me, you have no idea how many times the comment in the original post saved me from going back and second guessing myself. You literally saved me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. The moment I stepped back fully, I felt so much more like myself, a confident, lively and silly version of myself. I missed her so much, and to add to it, my 31st birthday felt like a complete rebirth. Almost a year later, I'm somehow the happiest I've ever been. My entire life fell apart and I struggled immensely, but surprise, everything worked out. Now I'm in a new relationship and it feels so peaceful, which took a lot of adjusting to. The ex feels like a past life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For anyone reading this, please leave the abusive relationship. If you are questioning whether it's abusive, the odds of it being so are high. Your sanity, mental wellness, and physical health matter. Don't forget that. It does get better, not only in movies. Oh gosh, I love a happy ending. It's nice to know that people's comments reassured her that she was making the right decision. Anyway, I'm done rambling on. I would like to know what you guys think. Also, I would like to see you guys put some words of encouragement in the comment box so people who need it can see it and get that reassurance that they will be fine. Do let me know what you guys think in the comment box down below. In the meantime, I'm going to sip from my tea, which is probably now cold, and then we'll move to the next story. welcome back. Also, did you guys notice I made the break time a little longer? Shout out to my sister for that suggestion. We are going into the r/AITAH subreddit, posted by Thora Sisters Wed. They ask, am I the a-hole for telling my parents they deserve to be kicked out of my sister's wedding? This is a throwaway as my brother is on Reddit and I don't want him to know my real account name. So, my 37 female brother, Mike, 35 male, is a knob. Always has been, always will be. He has been babied to the point of uselessness by our mom and dad, and that's made him an entitled slob. When he was younger, he showed promise playing rugby, which made my mom and dad believe he was going to be a superstar. The problem though was that he never had the work ethic to fully fulfill his potential. However, this meant that he was the golden boy in the family and he could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. He was a bully at school, which they brushed off as other kids making up lies, but he was an even bigger bully at home to our younger sister, Kelly, 31 female. He would constantly prank her, which basically meant he would do anything he could to embarrass her, including things like pulling up her dress in front of the whole family at a wedding when she was 15.
Stop it. Get some help.
Mom and dad said it was siblings being siblings, but the rest of the family were mortified by his behavior. I did try and stick up for my sister, and it worked to a certain extent, but after I went away to uni, there wasn't much I could do as mom and dad just don't listen to anyone. It got so bad that when she was 18, my sister gave up going to her dream university, St Andrews, and instead moved to London to go to the Imperial College London. This was a huge shock to all of us, as she had been talking about St Andrews since she started high school at 11. When I asked why, she said St Andrews was too close to home and that she'd be expected to go back home more often, but if she went to London, she would only go back home for Christmas. This broke my heart. After she left, she did exactly that. The only time she was home was Christmas and when I got married. This really annoyed mom and dad, as they said she was abandoning the family. I kept my mouth shut and just let them whine occasionally, as I didn't want an argument. After graduating from uni, my parents expected her to move back home, but she didn't. She got a job working in southern England and stayed down there. We are from Scotland for reference. 6 years ago, Kelly met a great guy, Jake, 30 male. The day she met him, she called me gushing about him, and I've honestly never heard her speak about anyone the way she does about him. I've met him several times when I've gone down to visit Kelly, and he's great. Good looking, funny, great job, his family are lovely, and most importantly, he treats Kelly like she hung the moon. It's very cute. After she met him, she cut down how much she came home even more, as she spent the first Christmas with his family, and then the pandemic happened, so she ended up not coming home for 3 years. Her first Christmas home, Mike started his usual BS, trying to be the center of attention. When it didn't work out as well as he wanted, as most of the family were more interested in getting to know Jake, he then tried to prank Kelly. He got a bowl of water and was going to pour it over her. Jake saw what was happening and stepped in front of Kelly, telling Mike to not even think about it. Side note, Jake is 6'3" and has been doing martial arts since he was 4, so he can be very intimidating when needed. Mom and dad tried to play it off as a harmless prank, but Jake was having none of it. Mike started whining about it just being a prank, and Jake told him that if he pranked Kelly one more time, he would prank Jake by putting his foot up his behind and his fist down his throat. Kelly and Jake left about an hour later, but after that, Mike, mom and dad all had an issue with Jake. Kelly hasn't been back home since. That leads us to now. Kelly and Jake are getting married. They sent out invites in February for August. However, they didn't invite Mike. Mom and dad are obviously incensed by this and had a huge argument with Kelly. They threatened not to go, and Kelly just said no problem. She would get granddad to walk her down the aisle. I went around their house on Saturday with my kid. Immediately, mom started complaining about Kelly and the wedding. I sat and listened for a while before I'd had enough. I asked her what did she actually expect. Her and dad have allowed Mike to be the golden child and get away with everything. Because of that, he can't keep a relationship due to him thinking everyone should do everything for him. He can't hold down a job because every job is beneath him, and he's still living at home with zero prospects in life. The man-child is a bully who I don't trust to be around my children unsupervised. He bullied Kelly for most of her teen years, and her only escape was to move over 400 miles away and never come home. Mom got very quiet and then asked me to leave. A few hours later, my dad called going mad because I'd upset my mom. I was taking the side of an ungrateful little girl instead of my parents who gave me everything. This started a huge argument between me and him where I told him he'd been a crap dad to Kelly and didn't deserve to walk her down the aisle. I've just had enough, but now I've got extended family members telling me I've gone too far, as my mom is barely speaking to anyone and keeps crying. My granddad said it was about time I told them off, but my grandma is upset by all the arguing. So, am I the a-hole for telling my parents that they sucked as parents and deserve to be kicked out of my sister's wedding? This one is a doozy. There are so many things I want to address in this, but I'm just going to start by saying OP is not the a-hole. OP's brother is a horrible, horrible person and is a perfect example of a mama's boy and a golden child. It always confuses me how proud parents are of this, for lack of a better word, disappointment that they raise, and they will find perfection in everything OP's brother does, but somehow they will fault OP and her sister. And now OP's parents are about to lose out on 2 relationships. Also, grandma who's being sad by people being hurt. How are you not sad or angered by your grandchildren being traumatized by your other grandchild? How is everyone wanting to blame OP for her brother's incompetence and her parents' lack of accountability? Curious14595 says the chickens have come home to roost, not the a-hole. Although the really sad thing about this is that OP's stubborn, inept mother, having finally seen the truth about her bad parenting and destructive favoritism, is probably more concerned about how she failed Mike, who is now worthless and unlovable, and by everyone's low opinion of her, than she is about how she mistreated her daughter all those years. Otherwise, she'd be asking her daughter for forgiveness. I think there is no accountability in this family's vocabulary. Mera1506 says, honestly, it's about time the whole family gets to know the real extent of Mike's bullying and how mom's enabling has led him to being a failure. She needed to hear the truth. Frankly, someone should have told her that harsh truth many years ago before Mike grew up. Does she think Mike will take care of them in their old age? Because I'm sure Opie and Kelly won't. Grandma saw this happening for years and didn't tell your mom the truth either, so she should shut up. The rest of the family was mortified once, but of course, no one actually did anything. This fighting is happening because OP's parents refuse to parent their son. It's on them. You can't expect the victim of a bully to invite their bully to their wedding. It's time to thoroughly air the dirty laundry, and if you can go and see with your parents and keep in regular contact with Kelly, tell any extended family they shouldn't be upset at the victims of Mike's bullying, but at the bully. Frankly, even more so at the bully's parents who never taught him how to behave properly. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. To me, OP did all the right things, but I'd like to know your opinion. I'd like to know your comment on the story and your thoughts. Do let me know your comments down below. In the meantime, I'm going to sip from my tea, which by the way is warm now, and then we'll move to the next story. Alright, this one is coming fresh and hot as at when recording from the r/relationship advice subreddit, posted by throwaway383838, who asks, my boyfriend, 33 male, broke up with me, 29 female, because I asked to delay our wedding by 5 months. I'm heartbroken and confused. Was I being too much for asking this? I, 29 female, was in a long-term 1.5-year relationship with my boyfriend, 33 male. We had been seriously talking about marriage, and he wanted us to get married in October of next year. I asked if we could delay it just by 5 months, not because I don't love him, I truly do, but because I want to pass my NCLEX exam, start working as a nurse, and become more financially stable before getting married. I felt like that was a responsible step for both of us. To show my commitment, I even offered to have a ring ceremony, which is an Indian engagement ceremony, in front of both our families during the original time frame. That way, our relationship would be official, real, and seen by both sides. I did this to ease his fears. He's been previously divorced and has expressed deep anxieties about me leaving or wasting his time, no matter how many times I've reassured him that I won't. Despite that, he won't budge. He said that if I couldn't commit to marrying him within a year, most likely next year in October, he didn't want to continue, and he ended things. Now I feel completely heartbroken, abandoned, and confused. I thought asking for 5 more months with a commitment ceremony in between was a reasonable compromise. I still love him, but I also feel like my emotional needs and goals were dismissed. Was asking for 5 extra months an unreasonable ask? Any advice or insight would help. I feel really alone right now. TLDR, my 29 female boyfriend, 33 male, broke up with me because I asked to delay our wedding by 5 months so I could pass my NCLEX, start work and gain financial stability. I even offered an official Indian ring ceremony with our family to show commitment, but he refused and ended things. I'm heartbroken. Okay, I think I'm going to jump in with a harsh truth, and it also sounds a bit mean, but sometimes we need to be mean. I think this entire video has just been me giving some harsh truths, but I can see why he's divorced. It sounds shady, I know. It's not a very cozy corner thing to say, but I just see why he's divorced. There's this rush to tie OP down, and unless he's got cancer, or he's got a mom or dad who's got cancer, or he has this thing that's waiting for him in the next 1 year, I don't see the rush. He's using the excuse of, I've been heartbroken before, to get OP to just budge and do away with her needs. If you can't see OP's goal as important enough to wait for OP, then I say good riddance and don't let the door hit you on your way out. That's just my opinion, and I think that's just me being cranky because why not? But yeah, I think OP isn't being unreasonable, and I think he has just gotten rid of bad juju for OP. Rose636A says, my daughter lived with a guy for 10 years, then he popped the question and wanted to do it in 4 months, no later, and voila, grandma, who adored my daughter, died in a year, and he served my granddaughter with divorce papers. We all knew he was in my grandma's will from his previous bragging. My daughter took it in stride, although really embarrassed she fell for it, and he married the fruit of his labor. It took her a while, she loved him dearly, and she says she will not remarry. She has more fun now than all of us and makes tons of money for traveling, charity, and her choice of politics. Let it go and be glad you dodged a bullet. George Z says, he was either looking for an excuse to end it, or he was trying to manipulate you. It's not about the delay. If it's so easy for him to end it over that, you don't want to marry him anyway. Hibernian says, his history gives context, but it's not an excuse. He wanted to control you. Maybe that's because it was the only way he could feel safe because he hasn't done therapy or the work on himself to heal from his last relationship, but that's still a problem for you. Once you married him, he would have started trying to control you even more. You dodged a bullet, sweetie. I know it sucks right now. It hurts to get broken up with when you love someone, but this man would have ruined your life. Find someone who wants an equal partnership based on trust instead of a relationship built on fear and control. You will hurt for a little while, but you'll be happier with someone else in the long run. I'd love to know what you guys think. I think this batch of stories have been a bit more juicy and chaotic than the previous one. I think I found myself with this one rambling on more, sort of calling people out and being a bit more direct with my opinions. But I would love to know what you guys think, so please put your comments down in the comments box down below. With that said, we have come to the end of today's video. I just wanted to say thank you for watching to the end. If you've enjoyed today's video, please give it a like. If you want to see more content from my page, please feel free to subscribe. You can also get notified when I post by hitting that notification bell. If you also have some of your stories, or you want to share some confessions, or you want to ask for advice, we have our own subreddit, which is r/AshleyReddit. Feel free to post on there and I will try to add your stories into my next videos. A quick disclaimer that the first 3 videos I'm going to be posting will be pre-recorded, so most likely not have your stories, but from here on out I will include your stories in my videos as well. We have come to the end of today's Scroll Down the Rabbit Hole. I do hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Until next time, keep it nosy, keep it cozy. Ashley read it, and now so did you.